Hi everybody, it's been a while, so I'm going to go ahead and make another brain scrubbing, a vertical edition, because it's hot and the phone needs some cool air like myself, even though I'd like to be driving with the window down, but that would fuck with the sound and the phone wouldn't benefit as much, and it's not environmentally sound to run your air conditioner and have the window down at the same time. In any case, plus it's uplifting, trying to be upwards, positive. In light of that, today's episode is about Spider-Man Far From Home. I did see it over the weekend. This will have some spoilers. It's kind of my thoughts on it, sort of half description, half review. Quick review, I like the movie. I think if I had to rank them, all of them that is, it's still Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi one with Doc Ock, then Spider-Man 1, then probably this one, I would say. Then maybe Homecoming, and then the first Amazing Spider-Man. They're kind of interchangeable. I didn't actually hate the first Amazing Spider-Man so much as I hated what they did with the lizard, which was okay. So I just convinced myself. Now it's Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man, this one, then Homecoming, and then just kind of throw the rest in the blender with Spider-Man 3. And actually, I would take Spider-Man 3 over Amazing Spider-Man 2. I really would. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was righteous trash, and I am glad that they stopped that series after that movie. So, Far From Home. It's pretty good. If you didn't guess that Mysterio was the villain going in, then you've not only not read a Spider-Man comic, but you've not read any of the Wikipedia articles that are out there about any of these characters, which I imagine a lot of people do going into these movies just to brush up on what the backstory is and all that. But it is very, and I've seen this description thrown around, the movie is very Disney-esque. It's a teenage romance, of course, so you're going to get that angle. Even though, technically, I mean, they technically all are, except for like Spider-Man 2 and 3 from the Raimi trilogy when he's actually out of high school. They're all kind of teenage romances in that regard, but this one is definitely drilling down on that. And it was decent. It was pretty good. I mean, actually, yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I will give it another look-see on Blu-ray or whatever when it comes out. Maybe even buy it. But it was not perfect. So I did like the villain. And it's funny, people tend to shit on these MCU movies because the villains are lame beyond Loki and Thanos. And even, like, Loki's shtick is starting to get old to the point where they're like, okay, we got to make him into like an anti-hero or a good guy, basically, because we know what the deal is with his villainy. But Mysterio's done really well. I've always liked the character. I like the dumb, dorky fishbowl outfit, and I'm glad they put that in there. And actually, they make a joke about it during the big reveal, which happens about 2/3 of the way through the movie when you finally find out that Mysterio is a bad guy. So it wasn't a question of when, but how and why. So the whole the whole plot turns around this pair of magical techno glasses that are gifted to Peter Parker from Tony Stark, and he's the only one who can use them. They're imprinted to his DNA or some shit. And or it's like his retina, and so he gets conned by Mysterio into giving the glasses over to him, which was very cool. It was done very well. It's very much the kind of scheme that the comic book character would do, and Jake Gyllenhaal does do a great job with the character. Once you look at it in hindsight and you think, wow, he was really, really bad acting there. It was really hammy. Oh yes, he's acting a part. He's hamming it up. He's playing on all these tropes of the sacrificial hero in order to make friends with Peter Parker to scam him out of his toys. So that's done very well. The romance stuff was done pretty well as well. I was more into the Betty Brant Ned Leeds. I'm calling him Ned Leeds. I know it's probably whatever. His name is Ned. He's dating Betty Brant. Ergo, he's Ned Leeds. I thought that romance was pretty cute in the sense. He was even more like kind of funnier and in some ways more engaging than the main romance between Peter and MJ. Just because I still don't. I just call the character a different name. Whatever. I'm not gonna pile onto that whole argument with MJ. But the movie's done pretty well. They're still leaning way too much on the Tony Stark thing, and there's a part in the movie like that, and it's an excellent hallucinatory sequence where Spider-Man's trapped in Mysterio's illusions. Jesus, it's been a long day. He's trapped inside his illusions. He's trying to fight his way out. He doesn't know if he's in a building, is he in a parking lot. He's just befuddled because of this great, like, trippy Doctor Strange-esque kind of sequence where he just doesn't know what's up, and he winds up in a graveyard feeling guilty about letting somebody down, somebody in his past who died, who imbued him with a sense of responsibility. You might say that great power brings this responsibility, but is it Uncle Ben? No, it's Tony Stark. So they're leaning on that. They're doubling down on it. So whatever. These movies aren't made for me. So I can roll with it as long as the rest of the movie is good, which it was. It was fine, and I can forgive it. I'm not a continuity freak or slave to the books kind of guy. I understand they're making adjustments, and a lot of what they're doing is, the MCU is modeled more on the Ultimate Comics universe than the actual 616 universe, which they actually mention in this movie. I thought that was pretty funny. There was a little bit of fan service there, because it turns out at this point the whole multiverse thing that they hint at in the trailers, it's all bullshit. And I did kind of call this. Mysterio's just a con man. He's pissed off an ex-employee of Tony Stark who's got a team put together because they've all been slighted by him in some way, and they don't feel that this punk kid from Queens should get this super-powered technology as he does. So the scheme is cool. There's this exposition dump in the middle that I thought it was clunky. They could have done that better. I think it would have been better if they kind of spaced it out in the story more. Like, the whole point is that they show all these different actors in the scheme, like the roster of, if you think like Ocean's 12 or one of those types of movies, you've got the con man, you've got the dressmaker, you've got the tech wizard, you've got the script writer, all these different roles. And there's this one scene where it ties them all back into, not all of them, but a handful of them back into different parts of the MCU that involve Tony Stark, and just shows how he screwed these people over the years. So I think it would have been neater if they had just kind of worked that in throughout the story, like have this person show up as just a random character, like somebody, like a package for Peter Parker, can you sign for this? And it's this nebbish guy with glasses, and then you see him later, oh, he's part of the scheme, now they got his signature, so now they can forge documents and make the illusion real or realer for Peter, or whatever. Anyway, I'm not a screenwriter, so fuck you. So that part was a little clunky, but the rest of the stuff with Mysterio was great. Even like when they're in the final showdown, the whole goofy comic book outfit is part of his illusion. He's actually in like a mocap suit, which is very, very meta, very, very much looking at you, audience. You'll believe anything, won't you? You'll give us money for anything, including Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody thought would be a thing. But there is some kind of self-referential commentary in that regard. So it's done well. One scene, it's kind of towards the beginning. They address the whole blip thing, which of course everybody in the real world knows as the snap or the snapping, you know, whatever, the events of the last two Avengers movies. So of course at the end of Endgame, spoiler alert, everybody comes back. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna kill Black Panther because his movie made $2.5 billion or whatever. No, you knew he was coming back. So everybody apparently comes back at the exact moment where they were, and they kind of make like a sight gag in the high school regarding that, where all the people that were playing basketball in a game that blipped out come back during the same game at the exact same moment, but there's like another event going on, so they run into each other. It's pretty funny, but it leads to some horrific questions, because they make a point that pilots disappear, people driving vehicles. You would assume half the crews of all the military aircraft and ships on the planet, including nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers and everything else, half of them all disappear. So what the hell happened with all that chaos? And so if I'm flying an aircraft at 50,000 feet and I blip out, said aircraft has since crashed 5 years ago, and I blip back into existence. Do I blip back into existence 50,000 feet above the air with no aircraft around me, and then I just turn into tomato paste after not knowing what the hell just happened to me? Like I'm in the Langoliers or some shit. So don't ask questions in movies like these. They're just movies. But that aside, it's a good movie. I would say it's worth seeing it in the theater. I saw it in the whole 3D smell-o-vision, or the XD, not the 3D glasses stuff. I can't do that. Those things give me headaches. But I would recommend it. If you're a Spider-Man fan, obviously go see it. If you're an MCU fan, there's some good Easter eggs and some good tie-ins to the previous movies, as well as the stingers at the end that are pretty good. Of course, the spoilers. The middle one is J. Jonah Jameson. He reveals J.K. Simmons is back as J. Jonah Jameson, which is great. He reveals Peter Parker's identity because Mysterio set Spider-Man up and has like this dying declaration that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And of course, at the end of Homecoming, you get a hint at the Scorpion when the guy walks up to the Vulture in prison and he's got the Scorpion neck tattoo. And of course, in the comics, J. Jonah Jameson essentially created the Scorpion accidentally, and so the Scorpion, I think, is going to be involved in the next movie. I mean, they're running out of A-list Spider-Man villains. I heard about the Chameleon. I mean, if they could pull Mysterio off, I think they can pull Chameleon off, but that might be one of those rare cases where you probably need another villain to buttress this one, because he's a pretty lesser-known character, even though he is, like, I think he might be the first actual Spider-Man supervillain. I believe he was in Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2. In any case, go see it. It's good. Or wait to see it. It'll still be good. And if you have any, let me know what you thought. How would you rank the Spider-Man movies? Would you rank the Spider-Man movies? Have you seen Spider-Man movies? Am I too old to give a shit about Spider-Man movies? Anyway, let me know. Have a good one. Take care.